Hi friends! My name is Lisa and I'm the Education Coordinator at the Financial and Consumer Services Commission. Part of my job is to talk to people all over the province and share information to help them make smart saving and spending choices. Today, I want to talk to you about spending money and using debit and credit cards. We spend money on things because they're important to us in some way. It may be to fulfill a need, like healthy food, because staying healthy is important to us. Or it may be to fulfill a want, like a bike, because freedom and being able to explore is important to us. But regardless of why you're spending your money, it's important to think about a few things when you're making a spending decision. Why do I really want to buy it? Is it because I truly want or need it? Or is it because someone else is telling or pressuring me into it? Or am I worried I'll feel left out if I don't spend my money the same way my friends do? Can I afford it? Do I have enough money now to buy it, or do I have to save for it? And is it really worth it to me to have it? Asking yourself these questions is a great starting point towards making better money decisions. Once you have decided that you really do want or need to buy something, the next step is thinking about how you will buy it. Cash, a debit card, a credit card? Let's take a closer look at each. I am sure you all know how cash works, but do you all understand how a debit card works? Sadly, they're not magic portals to unlimited money like we sometimes wish they were. A debit card is a simple way to access money that's already in your bank account. When you use a debit card at a bank machine or at a store, the money is electronically subtracted or debited from the total that you had in your bank account. You can insert it into the bank machine or store terminal and then enter your PIN or personal identification number in order to access your account. And you should never share your PIN number with anyone else. Keep it safe and remember it so that you will be able to use it whenever you want to access the money in your account with your debit card. But what about tapping your card? Tapping your card allows for the money to be taken out of your account without putting in your PIN. But you still want to be extra careful with your debit card so that you don't lose it. If you do, it would be even easier for someone to go around town tapping it at lots of stores and emptying your bank account. That's why it's really important to always keep your debit card in a safe place and treat it just like paper money. You wouldn't want to lose a $100 bill either, would you? Let's take a closer look at some of the pluses and minuses with debit cards. Plus. No need to carry cash. You can simply use your debit card. Track your spending. When you make a purchase with your debit card, you want to know how much money you have in your account before you make the purchase. For example, if you try and buy something that costs $125 and you only have $100 in your account, the machine will say declined and you won't be able to buy it. It's a good idea to keep track of how much money is in your bank account so that you can be sure you have enough to cover your purchase before you buy it. You can do this through a bank statement, which you can get from the bank or by using an app to track your account. Minus. Service charges. You may be charged a fee from the other bank for using their machine, and these charges can range from $1.50 to $3 or more per transaction. And if you use a bank machine that isn't associated with a bank, like you find sometimes at gas stations, you might be charged an extra fee for using their machine as well. Every time you want to take money out at a bank machine or ATM, as they're sometimes called, you want to be sure about the fees you may have to pay. And remember, that is money that is being subtracted from your bank account as well. Make sure you also know how many transactions you can do with your debit card. If you have a limit, you might be getting charged each time you use it, and you don't want all your money to go to fees. It's easy to overspend. With cash, you can see how much is in your piggy bank and physically count it. But with a debit card, it can be easier to spend more than you meant to because you're not handing over cash. security risks. As I mentioned earlier, remember to protect your card and never share your PIN. I hope you feel like you understand a bit better what a debit card is and how it works. Now let's talk a bit about another card that looks a lot like a debit card but works in a totally different way: credit cards. Like I said, a credit card looks a lot like a debit card, but they are very different. Even though you can't get a credit card until you're older, it's still important to understand the difference between debit and credit cards. A debit card is attached to a bank account. So when you spend money with your debit card, it's money that you already have in your account. It's yours already, and you don't have to pay it back. A credit card, on the other hand, is not attached to your bank account and is a way to access money the credit card company is willing to loan you. The credit card company gives you a limit. This is the maximum amount they're willing to let you borrow until you pay it back. Each time you pay for something with a credit card, you're borrowing that amount of money and you must pay it back. When you buy something with a credit card, you're charged a fee from the credit card company for borrowing that money. This is called interest. Interest is charged as a percentage of the balance you owe. If you don't pay your credit card bill in full each month, you have to pay back what you spent on the card plus the interest until your balance is paid in full. Credit card interest can range from 15% to 30% or more of whatever is owing on your credit card. So it is easy to get into a cycle of debt if you keep buying things on your credit card with no plan to pay it back. There are some pluses and minuses to credit cards too. One plus is you can use it in an emergency, like a car or house repair. But it's very important to make sure you always have a plan to pay the money back. A credit card can be used as identification and to make orders over the phone and the internet. Some examples are when you want to buy things from places like Amazon or in-game purchases for your favorite video games. Credit cards also have some minuses too, like interest fees that we already talked about. They also have security risks if they are lost or stolen and have a PIN number to keep them safe as well. Another big minus is how easy you can get into debt if you overspend with a credit card. It's really tempting to buy everything you want, but if you don't have a plan to pay it back, you can end up owing way more on your credit card than you can afford. When we talk about having a plan to pay back your debt, what do you think we mean? Well, for example, if you use your credit card or borrow money from someone to buy something before you can pay for it yourself, it can be really hard to pay it back, especially if you keep borrowing more and more, but don't make payments to pay it back. This is called a cycle of debt. And the reason it's so hard to pay it back is because even though you have this loan to pay back, you still have your other regular bills and spending that have to be taken care of. So that's why it can be hard to get out of debt. You still have to spend money on your regular life, but on top of that, you have this big loan to pay back. It can take a long time because you may only have a little bit of money left over to put towards your debt after your bills and needs are paid for. Before you borrow money or spend on a credit card, you need to look at your income and make sure you can afford to add another bill, which is debt payback. If you can't afford to pay back your debt or credit card bill, you're better off saving up to buy the item you want. Let's look at a scenario that ties this all together. Imagine you're going to the store to buy a new hockey stick. You take the stick to the cash and give the cashier paper money to pay for it. They give you some change back, and the cashier hands you the stick and you leave the store. Do we all agree that we bought something? You physically exchanged money and the hockey stick, so we know that we made a purchase. Now, let's go back a step. If you use a debit card, you're not physically handing over money, so you might feel disconnected, like you didn't really spend any money at all. And now, let's take it one step further. You're shopping online. You don't exchange money or even hold the item in your hands, so you have no connection at all to what you are spending. Then you punch a number into the computer and hit order, so you are even more removed from the feeling of actually spending money. This is why using debit and credit cards can be dangerous. It feels more like a game, or like it's not even really spending real money. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. Our brains are wired this way. It happens to everyone. That's why it's really important to make sure you keep track of your spending and know how much money is in your account and how much you can afford to spend. Hopefully, I've helped you understand how debit and credit cards work and gave you some things to think about before you tap away all your money. I look forward to visiting you again to share more about smart spending and saving.